Hey, welcome back to the channel, Zach Archer Games. I know it's been a minute. Honestly, I have multiple different channels. I have one for music, which is Zach Archer, one for video games, which is this one for movies and TV, that's Zach Archer TV, and then the collaborative channel for a mix of a lot of that, which is Tarkaron, with Tarqaron. And essentially what happens, or what I've seen has happened since I started the channels, obviously, I said I wasn't going to commit to a certain amount per week. I wasn't going to stress myself out because obviously there's multiple channels. If I was I need to have one for each channel a certain amount of time, it could be a lot. So essentially it was, I was shooting for a minimum of one a week out of any of the branching channels, those the three Zach Archer channels. And in recent times, I've been a lot more into movies. I've been on a huge movie kick, watching tons of movies. So naturally, I've been leaning more towards Zach Archer TV. Been posting there pretty regularly. And Zach Archer Games has kind of taken a bit of a backseat because I haven't been playing so much in terms of games. One game I have been playing was Skies of Arcadia Legends. That was for a gaming challenge, a backlog challenge on the Discord that I run. But other than that, that's the only gaming I've really been doing. I definitely have ideas for things I want to do very soon. And obviously, as I'm playing games and stuff, I'd like to talk more on the channel. But, of course, Nintendo. I'm huge on Nintendo. And so, when these Nintendo Directs came out, I wanted to do a video after the first one, which was just the original Switch Direct on March 27th. And then after the most recent one on April 2nd, I knew I had to do a video because it's kind of weird how much these two directs are almost catered towards my specific tastes. It's kind of bizarre in that way. Let's start with the, I'm going to briefly touch on the March 27th direct. On that direct, I know for some people it wasn't as, whoa, it's not, there were a couple announcements where they're niche, so if you care about them, it's big. If you don't, it's okay, good for people that like it. But I found it really good, even outside of the two main announcements, which I'll touch on, which are two examples of specific things that are right up my alley. I thought it was still a lot of interesting little announcements sprinkled in there. First of all, I want to touch on Witchbrook, which is a cozy game where you're some sort of magical academy thing, and you got to do little tasks to pay for tuition, and there's some sort of co-op element you can play together with friends. Now, apparently, as far as cozy gamers go, this has been a game they've been waiting for years and years. I didn't remember or know of it. As much as I do love cozy games, there are plenty I still need to get into. But this one seems right up my alley. I like the vibe. Also, shout out to Tamagotchi Plaza. Literally every reaction I watched of this direct was Tamagotchi. That's not right. Literally no one's ever pronounced it that way, so pretty wild that for Tamagotchi Plaza, that's when they reveal. It's a big reveal of how it's pronounced. Story of Seasons, I've traditionally liked Harvest Moon, and I've collected a lot of them. So much so, though, that I have tons that I can play. And so more that come out, it's whoa, the more just to add to the list. I like just collecting them, so I have most of all of them, Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons, tons of them. They're tough to just check off though, because they're not if you want to actually finish it, it's pretty big time sink, and I should dabble in more of them, I guess. But Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar is not one I saw coming. Harvest Moon Grand Bazaar is one I played on the DS quite a few years ago. I dabbled in that one, so that was interesting. Patapon, I know they're PSP classics. I never played them myself. I don't know, maybe I will get into that. Then there are a couple in here that, while I might have been interested in them, I really can't be because I haven't played some of the originals. One is Pokemon Legends ZA. I still have to play Pokemon Legends Arceus, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm excited for the new one. I'm not one of those gamers that's I'm going to hop onto the latest trend just to be with the hotness. I'm well, if I haven't played the original, I'm not gonna jump into this one. It doesn't really make sense because it's not oh, there's something in this one. It's really, I didn't appeal to me in the first one. Now the first one was very interesting to me. I played an hour of it at most. Seems like it would be something I'd like a lot. I just haven't gotten around to it. It's nothing about the game. So there's nothing about Pokemon Legends ZA that's like, I need to get this one as well until I finish the first one. And another one is Metroid Prime 4. I've only played the original Metroid Prime. I played that a couple years ago for the first time. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, I still have 2 and 3 to get to. I'm going to do that. I'll do that eventually. They're not like the most accessible right now. I unfortunately don't have 2 on the GameCube, as much as I like to collect GameCube games. But and I don't have the Metroid Prime trilogy. But I could at some point we'll get around to it. I'll find a way. All that being said, the big reveals are, first of all, Rhythm Heaven Groove. All right. Rhythm Heaven Fever is one of my favorite games of all time, period. I love that game. Truly, wholeheartedly, I love it. It's crazy how much, like, it's in, like, my top 10, top 5 games ever. And it's a game that's so simple. It's, like, mostly one button press, maybe a second button press. But it's a lot of fun. And then I went back and I played Rhythm Heaven on the DS as well, which is also a lot of fun. Though obviously it's not as tight as the Wii version. Like some of the DS controls in the mix had a little bit of jank. And then a couple of them are particularly frustrating to get through. But I never got to play the Mega Mix on 3DS. I never got that while I was even able to obtain it. And I don't think it's like impossible for me to get. But Rhythm Heaven Groove, absolutely. Been waiting for a new Rhythm Heaven game. It's like, this is right up Switch's alley. Like, and okay, they're gonna get it on the Switch right at the end here, and not until 2026. That was kind of surprising to me. Once I saw Rhythm Heaven Groove announced, you think that's kind of a game that would have a quick turnaround from announcement to being available, because it's not the most laborious game, I feel like. So kind of weird that it's a year out. It'll be a year after the Switch 2 has already been out and all that too. But okay, I'll take it. And then the last one is Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. Another 2026 one as well. Wow, but I did not see this one coming. I mean, people have been clamoring for a new Tomodachi Life. I was one of the weirdos that did play the original on the 3DS. It was like 2013 at this point, right? Over a decade. Somewhere around there, 2013, 2014. And it's just a weird game. I always like sim type games, and it's kind of like that. It's kind of like a little Tamagotchi element to it as well, because you go into the little houses, and it's like you're taking care of them, giving them what they need. Your little people, your Tamagotchi people, which were me's at the time. Now we've got like a weird hybrid me character going on here. But the whole vibe of Tomodachi Life was weird, and it just embraced weirdness. It had the whole like text-to-speech way of delivering things, and there was a lot of funny line deliveries with that. And then you could even have them like sing songs, and I remember that being the big memes of the time. It was just having it singing songs with the text-to-speech delivery. And then they'll just have weird things, weird events happen. Like even they teased it in this trailer where there's like one of them having a dream about this girl who's huge, and then it's like, did you want to talk? And it'll just cut back, and that's it. And weird stuff would happen like that all the time in Tomodachi Life. So it seems they're keeping that energy, and I love the vibe of living the dream. It seems like some sort of getaway, but like everyone's living, but there's more of a towny environment vibe going on here, rather than the original Tomodachi Life, where it was just everybody in this like apartment building, and then there was like a couple things sprinkled in the town, but not too much. So it looks like they're breathing some more life into it. I'm excited for it. But 2026, so it's wild. I'll be in the thick of Switch 2 at that point. So hopefully I can make time for it right when it comes out. That and Rhythm Heaven, they're going to be ones I want to get immediately. I know that much. All right, let's get into the big stuff. I'm wearing the shirt right here. Let me just touch on that right out the gate. Donkey Kong. New Donkey Kong game. This is what I've been asking for. 3D Donkey Kong game specifically. I love Donkey Kong Country and would have loved a new one of that, but it's just not what the people have been wanting. You know, if we had a new Donkey Kong Country reveal, it wouldn't have had the same panache as a 3D Donkey Kong reveal did. And you can tell from just watching people react to it. And the game does look good. At first, my immediate trepidation is the new design. Because look, I've been rocking this design, Donkey Kong, and collecting merch for this Donkey Kong, and like this guy's been my guy for some time. One of my favorite video game characters. So it's hard after decades to then accept a whole new design, completely new design, a completely different vibe. I was saying it's like a completely different guy, you know. It's like this Donkey Kong died some years ago, or at least you could say when they did the most recent re-release of Donkey Kong Country Returns, he died there. And now there's a new Donkey Kong born. And the more I watch it, the trailer, and see it back, the more it is growing on me. But it does feel like a different guy. It's weird. It's like Donkey Kong adjacent. But I know I can grow to love this guy. He's just a lot more like goofy and smiley and all that. It's a different vibe than Donkey Kong has been. But look, I'm here for it, and I think it matches the aesthetic of this game quite well. The game looks like a lot of fun. My immediate thought, it was like they combined Donkey Kong with Wreck-It Ralph. Like he's literally just like, I'm gonna wreck it, and he's fucking shit up. So many destructible environments. Just in the trailer alone, he was tearing the ground up. He was going underground, coming out, bursting, breaking shit all over the place. I have a little bit of questions as to will there be a lot of collectibles, or is that not a focus at all? Because they made a point of saying it's like an action platformer. So it seems there's more of a focus on the action aspect of it, which is cool. I mean, it's nice to do, like, subvert people's expectations a little bit. Nintendo will always do that. Give you a little something you weren't asking for, and then you might be delightfully surprised by it. Because this is never what I would have thought of for Donkey Kong. 3D Donkey Kong is an action platformer where he's just fucking shit up. I never would have really thought of that. I do hope there's some collectible aspect to it. I think that would be just the perfect icing on the cake, because it would satisfy those people clamoring for a Donkey Kong 64 type again, as well as ushering in a whole new kind of game. That would be cool. Like, you can see in the trailer, like, there's a part where like a little couple orbs come your way, but you don't really, there's no UI present throughout the game for the trailer's purposes. So there's a question mark as to, and he's just fucking shit up as far as you can tell. So I don't know if there's actually collectibles, or if it's just a get through the level, get the banana at the end, and he does that little victory pose. Either way, I'm excited for it, absolutely. I actually, either way, would have been very happy, because the alternate would have most likely been a 3D Mario, and that's probably still something we get relatively soon, I imagine. But, you know, 3D Mario is one of my favorite game series, if not my favorite game series ever. Like, I love almost all of those. And Donkey Kong I also love more as a character. I haven't had as much experience with some of his other games. Like, I've played the original Donkey Kong Country, I've played Returns, Tropical Freeze, Donkey Konga, Konga 2, and Jungle Beat. And I think that's about it for that. Mario, I play every Mario that comes out. And obviously every Donkey Kong game that comes out at this point I will, because I'm so into that character. But I still have a couple to go back to with him. So 3D Mario would have been amazing. I know that's something I'm going to love every time. 10 times out of 10, I'll love a 3D Mario game that comes out now. But Donkey Kong was the one I was kind of pulling for, especially a 3D Donkey Kong. So absolutely, I'm delighted with that. And then the other big one, this is the bookends. There was the one there's a couple other big ones, to be fair. And they're all kind of right up my alley, all right? So the bookends are, at the end, it was Donkey Kong. At the beginning, we had Mario Kart World, which I got to tell you, this alone, this was enough. This made the direct for me already, because I thought it looked amazing. And I never expected to think that after Mario Kart, when we got into what's Mario Kart 9 going to look like, even when they teased it in that Switch reveal, the Switch 2 reveal. I was never like, ooh, I'm clamoring to see what this is going to be, because I was always in the back of my mind, I'm like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like the definitive Mario Kart. What else more can you do? And I just couldn't see it. So I thought it was just going to be another, run-of-the-mill Mario Kart. It'll be good, it'll be solid, but you can't go crazy. Just kind of like how we've been talking with Smash Ultimate. Where do we go from there? It's probably not going to be bigger and grander. It'll be more of a return to form. We'll see. But this really blew me away. They managed to blow me away with something I thought we had tapped all the potential there. And no, absolutely not. I know people have tossed around the idea in the past of an open world Mario Kart type, but that's even just a little bit of it. Like, I love that aspect, but I also love a lot of the other stuff too. Even if that wasn't a thing, like you couldn't just drive around everywhere, I would have had just as much love for it, I feel like. Because first of all, I love the whole vibe of the trailer. I think it was presented really well. They showed in some new mechanics. You're grinding, you're doing wall jumps on the cart, you're going into this big truck and maneuvering that. They ate or had some sort of item. I feel like they ate a burger or something, and they started changing costumes. You're seeing a bunch of different costumes. I'm wondering how that works exactly. I know they had like a Nintendo Treehouse today. I don't know if you saw any of that on display or not. And then they just, throughout the trailer, tons of different little characters sprinkled in there. The most random, off-the-wall characters you can imagine. Cataquacks, freaking the Moo Moo Cow. I gotta tell you, it's so funny watching a bunch of reactions to this, and everybody has a reaction to Moo Moo Cow. You can't see that and just have no reaction. Because you're like, oh, there is just a cow as a playable character. That's so funny, and I kind of love it. And they have all these random weird little grunt or like minion villains. Like the Goombas of the Mario world. So many of the weird different ones, like Sidestepper sprinkled in there. Pokey. Cataquack, again, was the weirdest choice, but it's like, okay, I'm here for it. Moo Moo, I might just be playing as Moo Moo. That might just be the guy I play every time. But already a huge roster just from what we've seen on the trailer alone. Crazy. But that's most likely because there are 24 racers for the first time. You can have up to 24 people in a race. That's huge, literally. And that's going to be a lot of chaos and hectic fun, I think. So the game looked fun. A lot of fun, different elements they added in there. And then they also had this whole aspect of how everything's connected. Like these different tracks are actually part of, geographically, they've thought about where everything's located. And so much so that it's tied in through the Knockout Tour mode, which is a Battle Royale style Mario Kart, which I think is brilliant. That immediately was like, wow, perfect. That's a perfect idea for Mario Kart. Let's do that. That'll be a lot of fun. Where each checkpoint you reach, you're trimming off more of the people. That could be epic. That could really feel like you're earning it. You go from 24 people, whittling it all the way down until you could be the last one standing. Really cool. I do like what people said. They made a good point. I saw a couple comments where like, man, getting 24th place is going to feel especially rough. If you thought 12th was rough, 24th out of 24 is crazy. That's tough. But of course, the other aspect they said is you can drive virtually everywhere, and you can just even casually go on drives with your friends, and you can just go all the way around the world. Now, this is a lot of question marks for me. It's like really cool. I love that just idea, that vibe in general. I think worst case scenario is there's not really anything to do. You can drive around and say hi, game chat with your friends, but you can't do much more than that. That's the worst case scenario, and I think even in that scenario, I would be pretty fine because so much of the other stuff already satisfied me in different ways just from what we've seen from this first trailer. But really hope there's something more to it, more you can do in this world. Is there more of incentive to actually explore this world? Like, what's going on here? Or is it just literally you're driving around and you're making up your games, kind of like Animal Crossing Online, where you don't really have anything to do together, but you can kind of ride around, take pictures. We'll see. Either way, I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I think there's so much more you can do with that concept. even without the multiplayer aspect, there's a potential with like single player. This is a weird comparison, but I kind of thought of the licensed game for cars on the GameCube. Kind of that vibe where you can drive kind of around this whole area, open, like a moderately open little world, but you can do different missions. You know, you can drive up, like you drive up to this little spot, and then it's like, oh, you want to do this mission, do this race or whatever. Stuff like that could be cool. It doesn't feel like that's the direction we're going with this, but I'm just saying there's more potential in the future. And hopefully there's more modes to be seen as well, like a battle mode. I'm curious to see how everything else is fleshed out. Those tracks already look really cool just from the ones we've seen. So totally here for that. That completely blew me away. And yeah, thrilled with that. And the other big one for me is Kirby Air Riders. Kirby Air Ride is another one. I've been like, we need this one. We need a new one. For years I've been saying this. Now, I will not be fully satisfied until I see the damn city trial and until I see what they do with that. Sakurai's behind the helm. I have to have faith that he knows what we want. And so this is just a little tease. You don't get any gameplay or anything yet. Very beautiful tease, like really artfully shot and looked really nice. And it was a fun reveal. I was very hyped for this. Kirby Air Ride is one of those games where I definitely played it growing up. I still have it here. Even as recently as a couple years ago, I pop it in. You really need someone to play it with, but it's fun. But the thing with Kirby Air Ride is the races were never really for me. I would never choose to go and just do races. The top spin mode was it was decent, but still not for me. It was like always city trial or bust for me, and I hope we get that fleshed out so much. I've always said that kind of could be the whole game for me, and I wouldn't be mad at it. Just a fleshed out city trial. And yeah, I hope we get some really cool stuff here, and that could be beautiful online to have fun with that city trial. Yeah, really cool. Really some off the wall announcements here. Another one I know is big for a lot of people, just not for me, is the Duskbloods. I know that was a big moment. I could even tell that just from knowing from software how big that is, and the fact that it said only on Nintendo Switch 2, the Duskbloods. That's a big pull for Nintendo for sure. Again, when they say only on Nintendo Switch 2, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, in terms of, are we 3 months later saying, okay, now it's actually coming to these other systems? We'll see. I hope not. I'd like to actually see something be like, no, this is ours, and no one else is getting it. Nintendo GameCube coming to Switch 2 online is really cool. I love the GameCube. For me, it doesn't do too much because I have all the games they showed and announced, just because that's the console I collect for. I like that. I have a lot of games for that system, and I don't mind playing them on the original hardware either. But the big thing is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I think Pokemon Coliseum as well is also really expensive, but Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is always the one that stood out to me that I know it's really hard to get online. It's like hundreds of dollars just to get a physical version. So I'm very happy for people, because not only if you have a GameCube, it's hard to justify that purchase, but if you don't have a GameCube, you're not going to be able to play it. And I think that's like some peak Fire Emblem. That's really was one of my favorites. It is my favorite as of right now, but I still have some of the newer ones to play more of. But I love it, and so I'm glad more people get to play it. I've always been a big proponent of they should do a Radiant collection of like Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn in a remastered form. I'm surprised they didn't do that, and them announcing that Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is one of the games coming up seems to be kind of confirming they don't have a plan to do that. So, fair enough. But I'm really excited for people to get to play these GameCube games. There's a lot of really good GameCube games, so that's really good, really cool. Other than that, I got to comment on the jankiness of the presentation in terms of there was one point, very early on, the audio desyncs, and then there's one point where it froze. and I realized after the fact that if you go to like the Nintendo UK live stream, that one was working, I think, just fine, and a couple of the other ones. It was just the US version that had that problem, but it wasn't a good look, I'll say that much. Just it wasn't. Luckily, it was not in the middle of a big reveal. It was luckily in like a little montage of smaller published games, but still a shame. And also, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour looked like a brilliant. Well, no, it didn't. It never looked brilliant. It looked like a decent pack-in game for the Switch 2, and then they hit you with. I like how they made a very good point of saying it's a paid digital-only game. It's like they knew damn well when people saw that game, they're like, "Oh, that's free." Obviously, it's packed in with the system. It's literally talking about here tech demos, and here you can walk up to this sign and ask, "Where are the magnets?" It'll tell you about the magnets and the different functions of the system. And there's little tech demos, and there's some kind of little games, but barely. So it's like, oh, it's obviously free, and they knew that we would think that. So they're like, oh, let's make sure they know it's definitely paid. We're not going to give this for free. How much are you going to charge people for an instruction booklet? This is crazy. That was crazy. One of the biggest reveals of the night was when it said paid digital only. That was wild. And they're wrong for that. They are. I hope no one buys this game. I say that now. It's like, and it'll end up being $5 and I'll buy it. Even then, if I see it at $5, it doesn't interest me. Because it's so insulting, especially in an age where we have, meanwhile, Astro's Playroom sitting over on PlayStation 5, a pretty big experience, especially comparatively. It's like, doesn't even compare with this freaking Welcome Tour. Welcome Tour had no sauce. And they had the audacity to make it paid digital only. I know Hollow Knight Silk Song was a big reveal for a lot of people, and it was very funny how they handled it. They threw it in a sizzle reel, just real casual, like, so a lot of people even watching it were like, once they were done, like, with the big publisher reveals, they're like, oh, no Silk Song, I guess, and then they just threw it in there real quick in the sizzle reel, and it caught people off guard. I don't know if it was that they were that intentional with it or not, but they did that. They talked about the new Switch 2 editions of games, which I don't know if I'll be dabbling in much. Obviously, if I were to get a game like Metroid Prime 4, I would just go right for the Switch 2 version. But the Jamboree TV for Mario Party, it's like that could be some memey, some goofy fun. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to get into the whole Switch 2 camera shebang. I liked how when they showed the game chat and everything, how when they were sharing screens, they were very forthcoming with the fact that it will run like absolute shit. Like, you'll see their screen shared at 2 frames per second, and I mean, respect for that. But it's kind of surprising how they, like, in their own trailer for it, convinced me that I'll probably never use that feature, because it's like, oh, it's not going to be feasible at all. Okay, cool. For me, I tried it on PlayStation, and I had a similar result, but I think that's mostly because of my internet connection, more so than the product itself. So if they're showing in their presentation and it's running just as well as that did for me, okay, I guess I'm out. I kind of like the little tie in the camera with Mario Party and stuff like that, how you can get like their little reaction shots. Shout out to that guy in the part of the trailer where it's like, you got a star, and he's like, up in the webcam. That was good. That guy was a star, and he got a star, and that could have some fun results. Specifically with when you have friends in the mix, it could be some wackiness, and I like that. I like that idea. And there's a montage of a bunch of different published games in the mix, which is cool. They subtly announced that Amiibo still exists via Street Fighter, which was very wild, unexpected. Like, oh, Street Fighter 6 is just going to have these 3 Amiibo and a bunch of Amiibo cards, which I don't think we've seen since just Animal Crossing, as far as I know, which is wild. But yeah, that's it for me. Switch 2 launches on June 5th, which is really cool. A couple months away. I need to get some money aside for that pronto, because that's a must-buy for me. Mario Kart is available day 1. That's already enough. And then Donkey Kong is available a couple months after. And yeah, I always try to be there on the ground floor for Nintendo consoles in general, but those two alone are crazy. They carry it hard for me. So excited. It was a really excellent presentation. I know some things came out after the fact that people aren't as thrilled about, like pricing wise and with how some of the game cartridges work. And I'm not going to get into that too much right now because I honestly haven't delved into the details enough myself to make a judgment. Though I have, from what I can tell, Mario Kart will be $80, which is, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like that, it legit looks like it could be even better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is one of the best games ever. And still $80 feels crazy. I think Donkey Kong was $70. Either way, yeah, they're getting really pricey. So that is the toughest part. So apparently the Switch 2 will be $450. And then if I'm getting Mario Kart day one, that's $530 before tax with getting nothing else. God forbid I pick up a Switch 2 camera. I don't know how much that is. I don't know if they would announce that. A Switch 2 camera, a controller. Oh my God, then we're racking up towards $600. So as much as $450 sounds good, there's a lot more to factor in as well. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm able to get it at launch. But yeah, I'm hyped. This is an excellent direct as far as the content goes. The jankiness and the desyncing of the audio aside, I loved it. Really good stuff. Because you got not only the killer in Mario Kart right out the gate, a big Donkey Kong game, which was like people have been hoping for, but wasn't exactly the expected one. And then just a couple really off out of left field picks in Kirby Air Riders and the Dusk Bloods game. So wow, excellent direct. I definitely want to talk about more directs in the future because Nintendo's my jam. Really, at the end of the day, I love all of video games. I'll play anything. I have games on all systems, PlayStation, Nintendo. To be fair, very little Xbox, but Nintendo's always been, it's my home. You know, it feels like home to me. They have my favorite series ever, and more so than like a PlayStation State of Play, I don't even watch them because it's like there'll be plenty of games I like in there, but I don't know, it's just not the same. Nintendo Direct is like, even if I'm not interested, there's some amount of history there with a lot of the stuff, you know, even like, because Metroid Prime, I'm not caught up on those, but it's still cool to see Metroid Prime 4 revealed and everybody's excitement for that and all these different series. And Nintendo, they can always count on them to have these unique ideas and some more fun ideas. PlayStation tend to be a little more predictable in that regard. So yeah, Nintendo Directs I'm always there. I'm always going to be watching them. So I'd like to do more. I've been liking and enjoying doing rankings in my channels in general. So I was thinking, even for these, before that, when that first Switch Direct came out, I was thinking of doing a ranking of the different announcements in terms of my excitement for them. And I might do something like that in the future, moving forward. We'll see. But a lot of fun stuff. More videos coming soon on the channel. Stay tuned. If you want more videos just like this one, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. What are you excited for in the Switch Direct and the Switch 2 Directs? And take care.